Humans are better at this. This is just a tool. It's not a replacement. If you invest in your AI literacy today, you're going to be setting yourself up to be an AI tools expert in the future. If you're excited about your idea, start validating it. Start talking to users. Don't let fundraising hold you back from pursuing that dream.
Welcome to Inspired by Success, the podcast where I deep dive into the mindset of successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and thought leaders. Get ready to be inspired and gain valuable insights to unlock your true potential.
Transform your financial future with this episode sponsored by KE Financial Services.
From coding prodigy to AI startup founder, our guest today is creating new paths in productivity. After earning dual MIT degrees and leading engineering teams at Microsoft, she launched Smarty, an AI-driven productivity tool. With accolades like the MIT Woman of the Year Award, this visionary is clearly just getting started. Her company uses AI to help you work smarter, not harder. I'm excited to introduce the visionary changing our workflows, Denzil Eden. Welcome to the show, Denzil.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Tell us about your story and what key events made you the woman you are today, because you've accomplished so much and had so many great achievements and you're in an exciting space now. But take us back and tell us your story.
I would love to. Actually, for me, I feel like it started very young. I started coding when I was 7 or 8 years old at school because I was lucky enough to go to a school where they taught like baby programming to second and third graders with this language called Logo. Logo has like a really fond spot in my heart because it was like a turtle. You would give it if commands, then do this commands. And it was just so much fun. And I just fell in love with how logical coding is and how you can build something out of nothing. And that's really where, for me, my passion for computer science started. And I took that passion with me through high school to MIT and really ended up spending a lot of time majoring in that, but also trying to think about how you can apply that to the real world. And so I ended up doing a master's with a theoretical focus in AI and a human-computer interaction project in pretty much building a precursor to Slack for the collaboration classroom space. And I wish I had stuck with it. It was a real product. It had a real customer, but I didn't think of myself as a founder right out of my master's program. And I thought, oh, this is just like a fun hobby that I did on the side. Now I'm going to go work in tech at a regular 9-to-5 job. And so I started my career at Microsoft. I started as a PM at PowerPoint, but realized I missed coding. And so ended up switching to being a software engineer at Yammer. And then I realized that I still had a lot of curiosities, a lot of passions that I wanted to explore, and it wasn't fulfilling me the way that I wanted to be fulfilled. And so I started doing a lot of things outside of work, ended up trying a lot of different careers, decided to go to business school to broaden my horizons. And it was there while I was at HBS, Harvard Business School, that I really started thinking about the idea of Smarty and this idea that I could build the future that I want for myself and that I could also build a company. It was the first time I really thought about myself as a potential founder. And while I was there, I was just feeling so overwhelmed with all of the things that I had to do personally, professionally. And I realized that technology could automate a lot of the things on my plate. And that's how I started building Smarty. I built it for myself. It started as a chatbot. The goal was I would tell Smarty things I had to get done and it would try to automate it for me. I pitched my first investor while I was doing my MBA. She said no, gave a ton of feedback, and I kept at it. I kept iterating on the product. I started a new job, but I was still working on Smarty on the side, and I kept repitching to that same investor pretty much like every year. And she gave in eventually. And like, I think she liked my resilience and my grit, and she liked the idea and how I was willing to iterate with it. And so that was my first check, and it started from there. And I raised our first round in January of 2020.
Wow. What's it like being a female founder in the tech world? Because predominantly, it's sad to say, it's males, but what's it like being a female tech founder? And what are the challenges that you've had to face as well?
I think I've gotten really used to, through like just my background of always being in STEM, and then even my major being very like male heavy when I was in college, even though like MIT is actually very close to 50-50, computer science isn't. And so was always kind of used to seeing more men around me than women, and really like needing to consciously, if not subconsciously, telling myself that like my deck of cards is my deck of cards and I have to play them as strategically as I can. And I can't let what's around me tell me what my future can be or what I can or can't do. Only I can tell myself what I can and can't do. And so that was like a lesson that took me a little time, I think, to fully embrace, because sometimes you do have like subconscious biases. Like when I was out of college, it would never have occurred to me to become a founder. And really, I just needed my own time and path to get to that conclusion. But even today, like with AI, like we are an AI company, and I still go to conferences where there are no female speakers, no female moderators. And I'm like, there are women in AI. There should be more diversity here. And I think, especially with AI, diversity matters more than ever, not just gender diversity, but socioeconomic diversity, racial diversity, ethnic diversity. I think AI is all based off data. And so you need to make sure you're providing diverse sources of data. And so I feel like now I'm starting to think about it even more than I've ever before, because we need representation on all fronts everywhere.
Wow. And you mentioned like with fundraising, you got rejected and then you kept coming back every year. Where did this resilience come from? And what was the other challenges in fundraising as well? Did you try to fundraise with other people as well, or just that one person? And what are the challenges? But I'm curious to know, where did this resilience and this mindset come from?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think resilience is a learned skill, because I don't think hearing no ever feels good. And it is easy to hear no and then say, okay, I'm not going to try it ever again. And it took me a long time to understand that a no from someone is just a no today, not a no forever. And so it's important to take the criticism or the constructive ideas that someone has and then incorporate what you can, and then to just keep moving forward. And I think the founder's journey has really taught me that, the importance of just keep showing up, keep chasing your goals, keep iterating based off the data and feedback you're getting. And you'll find that you're making progress over time, even if it doesn't feel like day to day you're making progress. And so I think a lot of resilience is like celebrating small wins, and to take every piece of feedback as learning, and learnings are success. That's something you want in life. And so I think it's really about shifting your mindset. And related to that, shifting your mindset, something that's really been sticking with me recently is the fact that the only difference between imposter syndrome and a growth mindset is the word yet. Because if you're feeling imposter syndrome and you're feeling like, I can't do this, I'm not meant to do this, really, if you shift that sentence to like, I can't do this yet, you are suddenly in a growth mindset. And it's all about finding someone who can help you learn how to do something, or teaching yourself how to do something. And so I think that is also like ties back into that resilience and grit.
Oh, that's beautiful. And what's your latest approach as well as a technical CEO? Because there's a different leadership styles. I'm curious to know what yours is and how you've built it as well, the company. Are you hiring operators? That's another question as well. Tell me, because I'm fascinated and curious to know about the journey so far in building this massive, potential, crazy, awesome company in AI in this space where there's so much opportunity.
Definitely. I think my leadership style has definitely shifted over time. And I've really learned that one, hiring is very, very important. Like the earlier the company, the more important it is that you hire the right team. And actually, pedigree doesn't matter as much when you're hiring at such a small company and at such an early stage. What really matters is someone who's willing to do everything and learn at a high, fast rate, because you don't know what the job is going to be exactly. It is not as clear cut as it would be at a larger company. You're kind of doing everything. You're wearing multiple hats. And so it's really important that you find people who are passionate about the vision and about the roadmap, and understand the importance of having empathy for your customers and your users. And so it took me a little while to realize, like, okay, what am I hiring for? And if you hire the right people, then you know you can trust them. And that kind of has shaped my leadership style as well, because it's less about micromanaging and it's more about setting a North Star, setting the roadmap, and then trusting that your team will help execute to get there and will rely on you, and you can also rely on them. And I think that's really important when your team is like 5 people and everyone matters at a like life or death company level.
Mm-mm. I totally agree. When you're a small startup, you just all have to put your heads in and work together. Have you made any big mistakes in hiring, and what lessons have you learnt?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a solo founder, and I am not a solo founder by choice necessarily. Like I've always wanted a co-founder, but like with
Mm,
a co-founder, there are, I think, 3 main things that you're looking for. You're looking for commitment, you're looking for complementary skills, and you're looking for the ability to collaborate and trust each other. And so commitment is the fact that like a startup is not a 1-year journey. It is a marathon. It might take
mm,
5 or 10 years before you see the rewards of all the hard work you've done. And you both need to be committed to that timeline potentially. The second thing is complementary skills. I think you really need to find someone who has skills that are different than yours. I'm technical and I have a business background, so I need someone who is either deeper technical than me or deeper business than me, but not a generalist like I am. And so I think I've definitely made mistakes there when I was looking for a co-founder. And then the third one is about having trust, knowing that you trust the other person and that they trust you to be making the right choices, whatever your roles are. And I think that is really important for any relationship, not just the co-founder one. I've had like 3 prospective co-founders. They've all mutually, like we've all amicably mutually decided this wasn't the partnership for us. But I feel like I've made a mistake on all 3 of those fronts. Not finding someone who's equally committed, not finding someone who had equally complementary skills, and not finding someone who was equally willing to like fully believe in me and me willing to fully believe in them.
Well, do you think that you're going to just continue to do it as a solo founder?
I think I'm always open to the right co-founder. And now I have this criteria about what to look for, but I'm farther ahead than I've ever been before. So it feels like it's less and less likely to happen.
Yeah, and you've learned a lot from the mistakes and failures as well. So, no, that's great. Can we talk about the evolution of AI? Because it's an exciting space to be in, and it's rapidly changing and improving as fast as like productivity tools. So for me, for example, I love looking at the creative tools that you can use and editing tools. And with the Sora recently, how they make beautiful videos, like in that short span of 1 year, it's just improved rapidly. So where do you see the biggest impacts of AI over the next decade?
That is an amazing question. And I am really thinking about the importance of AI literacy for everyone out there today. And so, what do I mean by AI literacy? It's not about understanding how AI works, it's about understanding how to use the AI tools that are out there, understanding how AI thinks, how it works, so that you can use those tools to empower yourselves to the highest level. And so, I think everyone out there who's listening, if you invest in your AI literacy today, you're going to be setting yourself up to be an AI tools expert in the future. And I think the best way to do that is to take your hobbies, like the things you love doing, and looking for AI tools in that space. So if you love playing the piano, look for AI tools around either learning how to play or composing music or composing like orchestras, and learn how those tools can be used. If you're an artist, think about tools like Midjourney and other AI art tools. Feed it your own art, like learn how to take the art that it comes back, learn how to prompt it. And the same thing with writers and any type of like creative work, any sort of creative hobby. There is an AI tool out there waiting for you to use it and learn how it thinks, how it works. And the more you use AI tools, the better you will be in other spaces when it comes to your job, when it comes to your industry. And so I think everyone out there should be really starting to invest in their own AI literacy, because you'll see how much more of an expert it'll make you in any profession that you're in right now. So I think that's like a big thing for me personally that I really want people to like get excited and advocate for.
And what tools can't you live without?
Today? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I use Smarty for all of my productivity time management. I use Otter for recording meetings, transcribing meetings, just so that I have all of those notes. This is not an AI tool, but I use Figma a lot at work to prototype and do user testing. And so those are probably the 3 tools that I use a ton every day.
Wow, that's interesting. Building an AI assistant. What are the most important ingredients for creating a successful AI assistant?
Great question. And actually, I'm going to take that one step back. I think the best things about any AI tool is what I call the 3 Ps of AI, which are that it needs to be predictive, proactive, and personalized. And so what do I mean by all 3 of those? Well, any AI tool is trying to use past data, whatever past data it has, to predict future outcomes. And so it's predictive in that way. The second thing is proactive. Based off that past data and the future outcomes that it's predicting, it's going to proactively get something done for you. And then the third is personalized. Based off your personal data and your personal preferences, and based off those future outcomes that it's proactively trying to accomplish, the AI tools should try to personalize that to your preferences, to your interests, to whatever you want. And so I think we're seeing that application in every AI tool that's out there. And that's the 3 principles that we're using at Smarty as well. We're really trying to be predictive based off past data, proactive in terms of getting things done for you, and personalized to your personal preferences.
First of all, let's also take it back. I wanted to quickly ask and get your thoughts. What do you think about the implications of all this productivity? Because there's the people that are excited for AI and, all the opportunities, but there's also the people that can see the outcomes, the downside of it as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so AI tools in general, I definitely think there are a lot of short-term costs. Just like with any major innovation or change, there are a lot of short-term things that are going to be tackled. I think the big ones are privacy and security and cost of jobs, because there are definitely things that AI can now do that we were previously using humans to get done. And I think, like the Industrial Revolution, there's going to be this period where people are going to have to be trained for new jobs. And I think for me personally, long term, I'm very optimistic. I think AI is going to open up new roles that have never existed before. And in fact, 5, 10 years from now, we might see millions of jobs opening up and millions of roles opening up that have never existed before. And so that's why it's so important for us to be investing in AI literacy today, and for governments to be investing in training programs for AI tools or any sort of roles that are going to open up because of that. But in the short term, I think there will be a cost as we are trying to transition and figure out what is the new status quo. And I think like we've already seen that with a lot of companies, like a lot of marketing companies fired a bunch of their copywriter staff because they're like, now we have so many great copywriting tools. And then they realize, actually, humans are better at this. This is just a tool. It's not a replacement. And that's, I think, going to be very true for a lot of AI software that comes out. It's not a replacement. It is just something that's going to empower you to be even better at your job. So that's one part of it. The first part that I mentioned earlier, the security, privacy, I think a lot of global governments around this are actively aware of the issues here. They're trying to create regulations with companies on how they're using data, where are they getting their data, how are they storing that data, and how are they attributing whatever gets created to the original artists or authors or the original sources of data. And so I think there's a lot of governance coming up because of this. And I think a lot of governments around the world are taking a good stance of regulating it, but not at the cost of innovation, allowing innovation to continue, but then also being aware of all of these potential pitfalls that are coming up. And so again, I think there will be a short-term cost while we figure out what works, what doesn't work. But in the long term, I'm really optimistic.
Yeah, I think there's so much potential for AI for everybody, really. It just helps save so much time, and I use it every day. So eventually, I think more and more people will eventually use it too. And I tell all my friends too that don't use it, like, you got to use it, at least use ChatGPT, because
Yeah.
that's just a game changer in saving so much time. It just makes you more productive and helps you be creative. But sometimes you definitely, like you said, you have to have a human element, because it doesn't have a soul, and it doesn't write the same as a human would. It doesn't speak as a human would too. So you definitely have to make sure you monitor it. I'm curious to know, what drives your passion for using technology to solve real problems?
I think, at least for why I'm building Smarty, it's really around this vision. Like, I see this is what the world is going to look like 5 or 10 years from now. And then actually, that's how the idea for Smarty really came together too. I still have the same vision around what I think our interactions with technology will look like 5 or 10 years from now. And from that, I kind of reverse engineered into what I'm building today. It keeps me going because even as things change, I can still see that vision is just becoming clearer and clearer over time. And so that really drives me personally in this founder's journey. In terms of just like why I'm so obsessed with technology, it's because technology can solve real problems that we're seeing. And especially with AI, for example, like in the United States, there is a shortage of teachers, and these AI tools like ChatGPT, they're democratizing education across the United States. It's providing opportunities to create real personalized educational tools for every student that's there. And so it's a great way to deal with the shortage of teachers. We're also suffering from a shortage of doctors. It's a great way to deal with complementing the doctors that are available and freeing up times, and also empowering other people in the medical industry. And so I just find that technology in general is a great way to democratize opportunities across different genders, socioeconomic factors, cultures. And I love that. I think that's a really beautiful thing.
Oh, that's beautiful. There's so many different AI tools out there, and especially productivity tools and assistants and bots. Tell us what sets Smarty apart from other tools out there.
Yeah, I think as a startup founder, one of like the scariest questions to get is, there are so many other companies doing something similar. And I
Mhm.
think for founders out there who are listening, who are working on an idea in a crowded space, I think you always have to take that as validation that there is a real pain point here, a real problem that needs to be solved but hasn't been solved yet because there isn't a clear winner. And then in terms of all of the productivity tools that are out there, I think what sets Smarty apart from all of the other productivity tools out there in the market today is threefold, I guess. It's one, we're using natural language commands to automate administrative tasks. The second is that we're using AI to understand your personal preferences and create recommendations based off of that. And then the third is that we're trying to be this all-in-one tool. We're trying to take the best of what we've seen across productivity tools, like the best calendaring features, the best contact management features, and bring it all into a single tool. But I think the number one thing that sets us apart is that first thing that I said, the natural language commands. We're trying to create commands like coffee with Linda at Blue Bottle in London at 2 p.m. California time and have a calendar event sent to both of us with the right time, the right people, the right location. And that's just in calendar management. We're trying to do that across your administrative stack. So task management, contact management, email management, scheduling links. We're trying to be that AI-powered executive assistant that empowers you. And so I think we're well on our journey to standing out.
Do you think we won't need like VAs after? Basically, is that what eliminating
Well,
that?
actually, our customers today, while a lot of small business owners who used to have an EA and can't afford an EA today, we also actually, a lot of our customers are VAs and executive assistants because it frees them up to do other jobs. So we're really trying to automate the administrative tasks so that they can use their time and energy for things that are more strategic, things that AI just can't do.
Wow. And so this could be applied in the professional roles, in the corporate roles as well?
Definitely. So our customers today are small business owners, they're managers at larger companies, they're engineers, they're product managers, EAs, VAs. And so we definitely have a wide gamut of customers today. And I'm trying to narrow in on our favorite customer and really hit product market fit.
Wow. And what do you wish you'd known when you first started Smarty? Would you go back and change anything, or are you just constantly learning and iterating? Like when we do have a business, obviously we make a lot of mistakes and there's a lot of failures. Is there something that you wish you had known before you first started Smarty?
Definitely. I think, as you said, it is a journey of just constantly learning. And I'm so grateful for that because sometimes the learnings are like the things that you have to be most excited about because sometimes there's so many setbacks that so you have to tell yourself, at least I'm learning at such a high, fast rate. I'm a builder. I always see a problem and I'm like, okay, let's build a solution for that. And I think it's really important as for all of the aspiring founders out there that when you have an idea to validate the customer and validate their pain point and validate exactly what they want the solution to look like. And so for me, one of my biggest mistakes is I built for myself and that was great because I'm very passionate about it, but also I wasn't thinking about the more general customer and the larger market here. And so for everyone who is excited to start a company, I actually think it's easier than ever to start a software business today. And you don't have to write a single line of code to get started. All you have to do is start validating your idea. And the best way to do that is to create a landing page and a wait list and see what customers are interested in just the messaging that you use. And then once you get a wait list, start interviewing those users and don't tell them your solution, just hear their problems. Try to find patterns across 5, 10, 50 users. And then once you have those patterns, you can start prototyping a solution on Figma, on these other tools that are already out there with no coding. Before you even write a single line of code, with the technology that's out there today, you can validate what messaging you're going to use, what customer you're going to look at, what that product solution is going to look like and how it's going to work and how it's going to feel. And you should have all of that data and information before you start building it. And I think for pre-seed companies, if you have enough data, enough validation, at that point, you might even be able to raise some angel investment to help you build out the product that you decided should be the solution. So I think if you're a founder, you can start creating a startup without coding at all. And that's probably the best way to do it. And so if I had a new idea, if I was working on something else, that's exactly what I would do.
It seems like building a software company is expensive though, because you do have to input a lot and the cost of staff and building, it's just very expensive to start. That's why it's not as easy to get into. But what are your thoughts on that? And for somebody that doesn't have enough money or budget to start up, where would they start?
I really think like that is exactly how you start. You start with a landing page. There are so many no code solutions for building out a website and you try to find demand. You try to find those customers. If you have the right idea, you can even get customers to prepay you to build the idea out. If you think you need like 5K to prototype a product and you're going to charge $100, then you just find enough users to like be bought into your vision, to be bought into the solution, and you can build it that way. I think there are so many ways today to create an idea that makes money without actually building it out. And so I think if you're excited about your idea, start validating it, start talking to users. Don't let fundraising hold you back from pursuing that dream.
Wow. And you've got like a very technical background too. How do you find the balance between being a technical founder but also being like a CEO and being commercially driven? Because like I've worked at Tube Mogul as an account manager years ago, and that was very technical too. And then I got into sales. It was a bit of a different hat. You know what I mean? How do you find that balance between being more technical versus commercially minded to make the money and, keep the company running?
I think that's a really great question. Honestly, like I can't switch hats at the snap of a finger. I really have to batch tasks together. So I have to be like, today is my like CEO day and this is my CTO day. And I have to really think about it that way because I can't be CEOing for like the first half of the day and then be like, okay, now I'm going to code for the rest of the day. I find it sometimes really hard to shift. And so I have to have ways of dividing my day up and batching tasks together. And actually, that is a major science-backed productivity hack that like when you're doing tasks, you should try to do similar tasks together because you'll be able to keep that same level of focus and that same skill set at the forefront of your mind. And so I think about that a lot. And actually, I use Smarty a lot to also like use projects to like auto schedule like tasks in the same project together versus other projects. So that's something that I think about a lot.
Wow, that's very, very creative. And I love that approach too, because you got a bookshelf at the back. You're an avid reader, I can see. Have you got any books or mentors that have really helped shaped the person, which have impacted you massively?
Yeah, as a founder, I think the books that have influenced me the most are definitely Zero to One by Peter Thiel. I think that's just a really great book to help you think about the founder's journey and like what really matters. And then The Mom Test, I think, is another really great book to tell you how to interview with users and how to get started taking your idea to a solution that is actually something that customers want. Those are like the two top of mind books for me. I think Thinking Fast and Slow is an interesting one just to like understand how your brain works. Oh, okay. Last one. If you're really interested in doing venture capital funding, then I think it's important to read a book like Secrets of Sandhill Road. It's a book about venture capital in the Silicon Valley mostly, and it talks about how VCs think and how they are investing and what they need a startup to do in order to be a successful investment. And it's a dry book, but I think it's good to like know how the other side thinks.
Wow. And are you thinking of like expanding? What's the future look like in the next 5 years? What's Smarty going to look like?
I don't know what Smarty will look like in 5 years, although I definitely have some thoughts about it. I think more concretely in the next year, we have some things that we're really focused on. So we're really focused on adding more integration. So one integration request that we get a lot from users is Monday.com or Jira or Slack. And so we'll probably be adding more integrations this year. And I think mobile is very top of mind for us as well. We're a mobile friendly web app, but we don't have a mobile app of our own. So that's definitely something that I think could also happen within the next year. And then we're just always working on improving our natural language commands and what we support that people can type into Smarty. And so that's always something that we're actively working on.
You seem so very driven and focused. I like that. Is there a ritual? Do you do anything in the morning to help you with your productivity, your alertness, to stay sharp? Because you do need to have a sharp mind doing tech. So I'm sure you're not just work, 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 work. Like, how do you keep a
I
work
try
life
not to
balance?
be, but that's something I'm more actively prioritizing this year in 2024. I think when I first started, I really like stopped prioritizing like my mental health and my physical health. And that was something that like takes its toll on you. And so this year I'm really trying to prioritize self-care in general. And so some like the fun things that I'm trying to do this year is I'm trying to run one 5K for charity every month. And so I have one coming up next week. It will be my third one for the year. And I was never a runner before. So this is very much like I'm training. I'm very slow, but I'm trying to improve my speed with every 5K. And so that's something I've been doing for my physical health, for my mental health. I've been making more time to read for fun. So not like books for
Learning.
work, which are a big part of my life, but like also trying to read for fun and like having like friends that I'm like talking to about these books. I'm trying to take like more time to meditate, but I will say I'm not consistent about it at all, but I do see the benefits when I do it. And so I've been trying to incorporate that more into my life too.
Yeah, that's beautiful because I've heard some founders, especially in the tech world, they work so, so hard and they're so driven. And then once they sell off their company, well, there was one, I think it was Brian Johnson, don't quote me, but he ended up selling for like millions and millions, but then he's
That's
now
crazy.
invested all that money into biohacking and getting his health back on track. Speaking of
Right,
selling, are
because
you
it
ever
does take
thinking?
a cost if you
It
like
does, yeah.
only work all the time. And I've definitely felt that. Like I felt that in my body, and then you just burn out and it's not sustainable. So you have to prioritize what is like a sustainable way of building your company.
Yeah. Do you have like an exit strategy as well, or are you not planning that?
I'm not planning that. I would love it if Smarty is a unicorn. So that is the goal. That is still the vision and the dream. I hope we can get there. So that's definitely like the exit strategy that I want ideally. It's also the exit strategy that my investors want to hear. I think any investor wants to hear that you want your company to be a unicorn. That's still what I want.
I love it. What advice do you have for other founders, even females and students as well, that want to do what you do?
If you're an aspiring founder, I think the most important thing is to start validating your idea. You don't need VCs to validate the idea. You don't need VCs to validate who the customer is. And actually, the best thing you can do is to try and find a paying customer for your prototype. Not even something you've built, just like the little prototype that you've built. If you find someone who's excited to give you money for that prototype, that means you found a good idea.
Beautiful. And how would you personally define success? What does success mean to you?
That's a great question because that is a definition that has definitely changed for me since I was a child to who I am today. Because I think it's really easy when you're younger to always be chasing that next milestone, that next achievement that is so clear. And then when you become a founder, you realize that there are no milestones, there's no roadmap. You're kind of writing the roadmap as you go, and the unknown unknowns can seem really scary. And so then you have to redefine what is success because there's no clear marker of success. And so I think for me, the founder's journey has taught me is success is like how much you're learning every day and how fulfilled you feel as you go through those motions. Because learning is not something tangible, but it is something that you can feel inside of yourself that you're growing. And I think if you love the rate of learning that you're going through, I think that can feel like success. And I think that's where I'm at right now with the definition.
Denzil, you've got such great energy and enthusiasm. It makes me want to work for you. That's the type of energy a leader, I think, should have: positive, happy, inspiring energy. And you're very driven, you're very knowledgeable and wise as well. But there's got to be days where you don't feel motivated and you've had a bad day. So, what do you do when you have those days? How do you lead and motivate your team when you're not feeling 100%? What's your style?
That is a really great question. And it is so relevant to me because, of course, I try to stay upbeat and positive because I think you have to as a founder because it is against all odds that you're trying to make your company succeed. And so you need to be motivated and driven and positive for the rest of your team at all times. And I am actually naturally a very positive person, but I, of course, have my days where I want to cancel all of my meetings and just sit in bed and do nothing. And whenever I feel like that, I usually take it as a sign that I am burned out or I'm sad about something and I don't know what I'm sad about. And so I usually write on those days. I just like try to get all of my feelings out. I'll look at a feelings wheel and then try to pinpoint which feelings I'm feeling and then try to pinpoint it to a source of why. Because day to day, my problems aren't changing that drastically, both personally and professionally. And so for my mood to shift so drastically, there must be something behind that. And that could be because I've been working too hard for too long and I need a break and need time to self-care and reset. Or it could be that I'm sad about something and I haven't processed my feelings around it. And so I find writing to really help me sort that out. And then depending on what I'm dealing with, is it like something that I haven't processed or addressed, or is it burnout? I will find the right solution for that. So I have like my self-care rituals. I'll like try running, or I'll try meditating, or I'll try reading for fun. Or if it's like something that I need to address either professionally, like I'm stressed about the roadmap, then I'll try to figure out why I'm stressed and try to work with someone on my team to solve that problem. And usually if I do that, I'll find, if not that day, then the next day or the day after, I can find myself feeling back to normal. And so I think it's really important to listen to your body and to your mind and start being aware of why you're feeling the way you are.
I love that. Thank you. This has been an awesome conversation, and I hope if you guys have enjoyed it, please support the channel by hitting the like and subscribe button. And if you're listening on the podcast, please hit the follow. It really does help the channel. Finally, where can people find you?
People can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Denzil Eden. I'm always happy to talk to aspiring founders and always happy to give a personalized onboarding for Smarty. And then you can always find Smarty at smarty.ai, www.smarty.ai. So please try it out.
Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best with Smarty, and I'm going to look into that tool for myself now.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. I had such a great time.